Welcome to another Good Gut Live. We're very excited to be here as always. We thank you for those watching, listening live, as well as later on the Good Gut Live podcast. We have another guest. We're on a roll with guests and we're excited to be here. My name is James Marin. I'm an integrative registered dietitian, environmental nutritionist, the co-founder of Married to Health.
I'm Delia Marin, integrative dietitian, certified gastrointestinal nutritionist, one of the other co-founders of Married to Health. And we're so excited to be here with you all and especially be here with our guests. So please introduce yourself to our audience for those who don't know you. We can't wait to start this conversation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ruby Tischoff. I'm a functional diagnostic practitioner, nutrition coach, and I'm also director of education at Econogenics. And that is a dietary supplement company focusing on providing evidence-based, unique, and clinically relevant solutions that aren't available elsewhere in the nutraceutical space. So we're very proud of our products and the research behind them, and particularly passionate about detox and gut health. We have clinical data on detoxification properties with natural ingredients, which is pretty unusual and very impactful for our clients, for our audience as well. So yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank
It's such an important topic, and especially this time of year, you're watching this roughly in the beginning of the year, depending when you're watching this, for those listening and watching. But right now it's all about cleanses and detoxes. We're getting all of those questions all the time, but especially around the new year where it's like, I just need a water fast, or I just need this parasite cleanse, or I just need this juice cleanse to reset. So all these buzzwords, right? Reset, cleanse, detox. So we're going to get in, what we're going to be talking about today, official title is like Beyond the Cleanse, and like properly, detoxing, and what is detox, gut health, and beyond. And even when, for us as health professionals in our private practice, when we do need certain supplements or certain types of diets that really do help along with the goals and what we're trying to do. So we're going to get into all that. So It's exciting.
And we are very familiar with this because we work with people who are trying to eradicate overgrowths and overabundances, whether it's bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, mycotoxin overgrowth. It's, certain things that maybe are out of place in too much of an abundance in the system. So this is something we love talking about with our audience, our patients, but not everyone listening may be familiar. So we are excited to talk first just basics and then really work our way into the nitty gritty, because we just love getting into the nitty gritty nerdy science of it all and educating those who are here with us in the same. So one of our questions is, what is Pectosol? And why did you all use the main ingredients in Pectosol that you did choose to use? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so Pectosol is the flagship product of Econogenics and has been used clinically for now over 30 years. It was developed originally by an integrative physician, Dr. Isaac Elias. And essentially what it is it's citrus pectin. Many people have heard of citrus pectin, and it's often used in jams and jellies as a thickening agent. And it's also a great gut fiber supplement, and it stays in the gut. It binds to heavy metals and other environmental toxins in the gut. Now, that's regular citrus pectin. And Pectosol is very different. It's a modified citrus pectin, and that modification means that the molecules are very small. They change the large chain regular pectin sized molecules using an enzymatic and pH and heat treatment process to reduce those molecules so that they're small enough to absorb into the circulation. And that's what makes it so unique, because you don't typically hear about fibers, whether insoluble or soluble fibers, absorbing into the bloodstream. Typically they remain in the gut, and they're great gut health supplements and help to detox and provide healthy mucosal integrity and gut wall support and all of that. But they don't absorb into the circulation. Well, Pectosol is very different. It is formulated specifically to absorb into the circulation, and that's really where it does its magic. I say magic, but it is backed up by over 100 published studies. Most of them are independent third-party studies that we as a company and manufacturer have nothing to do with. We only find them once they're published in the scientific literature, and that's very exciting. That's part of my job. Oh my goodness, another Pectosol study, and making that announcement. It's just really fun to see those popping up constantly. It's the subject of, as I said, over 100 published studies showing that it's able to essentially tamp down that overactive immune reaction, that overactive and imbalanced inflammatory process at the start of it, at the headwaters of those processes, of those cascades that drive inflammation downstream and impact organs and tissues over time and have, you name it, how many impacts to our health, to our function. It's really something that we want to manage, is this overactive, this inflammaging, this concept of this constant ongoing low level or high level inflammation that's really causing so many of today's most critical concerns. And so Pactisol works by entering the bloodstream and binding to this very specific molecule called galectin-3 that's shown now in tens of thousands of studies to be this key driver of this overactive immune and inflammatory process. It's really at the start of that process. From there, galectin-3 then triggers all of these cytokine cascades and downstream processes that can lead to all sorts of impacts and concerns. Now, in addition, Pactisol is also clinically shown to bind and remove heavy metals from the bloodstream, and that's very unusual for a natural product. And that is early research that they had on the product in the early 2000s, and continues ongoing, showing that it's reducing lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium safely without disrupting essential minerals, without removing things like calcium and magnesium the way so many other chelators and binders often do. They can be very harsh, they can be very stripping, and you often have to take mineral and nutrient replenishment if you're doing any sort of chelation process, even natural chelation. Well, Pactisol is very different. It's very gentle. It doesn't bind to essential nutrients. It only binds to heavy metals and other environmental toxins we've shown as well, including mycotoxins. We have a number of reports from our health practitioners and from our clients and from our customers showing a reduction in these really heavy hitting mycotoxins that I'm sure a lot of your viewers are familiar with: ochratoxin, aflatoxin. Those are the big baddies that can cause so many issues when people are dealing with mold exposure. And so Pactisol, by helping to remove these environmental toxins from the circulation and at the same time help to quiet down that reaction to the toxins, that reactivity to the toxins, because clinical studies show that heavy metal burden can drive up galectin-3 protein. Mycotoxin exposure in humans can drive up that galectin-3 protein. And essentially that galectin-3 protein is like the body's alarm saying, hey, something's going on. But with all this that we're exposed to, all the toxins, all the stress, viruses, illness, injury can all cause galectin-3 levels to go up. And that's really where we see those reactions to environmental toxins coming from. And people that have this extra sensitivity, because we know some clients and some people are just extra sensitive to these environmental toxins and can't even enter into any sort of level of exposure without being completely, symptomatic and really struggling with those impacts. And so Pactisol, by helping to bind up those environmental toxins and also tamp down that reactivity, it makes it an extremely powerful yet very gentle and very effective detox product that works in so many different ways to not only remove toxins, but smooth out that sensitivity to the toxins, so that people who have been previously unable to have any level of exposure are now finding themselves, I can actually, not that we want people to expose themselves, but we know there's often no choice with travel or whatever environments we're in, and they can enter into certain environments that they weren't able to before. And this has improved quality of life for people. It's allowed people to continue their detox programs, because again, a lot of times what happens when we're detoxing is we just get this overload of symptoms, of detox symptoms, of the detox crisis or the Herxheimer reactions as there's die-off, as there's toxins being removed. And it can be a very uncomfortable process for a lot of people to go through detox. So Pactisol really excels in many ways, and lots of practitioners call it the great detox program enhancer, and are reliant on it to get their patients through these heavier detox protocols. So it's an excellent one for an intensive detox program, whether you're working with any sort of die-off reactions or disrupting any sort of microbial overgrowth, or if you're just looking for a gentle daily detox, because as I said, as we know, we're all exposed constantly to environmental toxins on a regular basis.
I love this. And what we find, I mean, we're diving right in and I love it. And what we find is there's two types of people. There's the person who's all about this and they're like, oh, yes, I've heard of these terms and everything. And yes, I love it. Tell me more. And there's a person's like, well, what about my natural detox organs? And why would I need this versus that's why I have a liver or there's even practitioners and providers out there that are like, I don't believe in this detox.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of nuance here, but there's kind
Mhm.
of those two big sections. What would you say to that versus like, well, I naturally detox versus, and you kind of touched on it a bit, but just to reiterate, like natural
Coming from
detox
those two
versus
camps.
the other camp of like, yes, I totally believe in this. How do you,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so of course we're always detoxing all the time. We have amazing detox capacity within the human body. The human body is amazing. It has these regenerative innate intelligence capacities to heal, to understand, to calibrate. And I would say what we haven't evolved to do is manage the onslaught and the amount of toxins that humans are exposed to in today's modern world. We have our
Mhm.
evolution just has not yet caught up to that level of toxicity. And we know that toxins are in the environment and we know that they get into the body and we know that they can store in the body, in organs and tissues, even in the brain, in fat cells. And we know that certain natural products, including Pectosol, can safely help to remove toxins that are in the circulation, in the gut, and other areas. Now, Pectosol is very unique in that it is clinically shown to remove heavy metals in the circulation. And that's unusual for a
Mhm.
supplement. So I understand why there would be people out there who still haven't seen the research, don't understand the science behind it, and wouldn't necessarily buy into that process or that concept, because of course we have amazing organs that are doing an amazing job for us in handling these toxins. And if they weren't, we wouldn't all be here today, because think about it, we're all exposed to so many toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, environmental toxins, dioxins, you name it. So yeah, our organs are working their darndest and doing a great job in so many cases. But then we are also looking at certain types of people that have genetic detox impairments based on their genetic SNPs and that expression. We know that some people with certain illnesses just have a harder time with removing those toxins. If you have a high toxic body burden, your body's going to have a harder time in many cases managing those toxins and helping you to stay symptom free and not even notice it. Because oftentimes we don't even know that our bodies are toxic. They're just being stored
Mhm.
away and we're just doing the best we can to get through the day. And maybe we're a little tired or we have a little bit of brain fog, but we don't necessarily chalk that up to toxin exposure. So it's a fascinating discussion, and it's one that I do love getting.
Let's see, here we go.
I I lost you guys there for a sec. Hi.
We're back. This is how you
Okay.
Yes.
know.
So yeah, so it's a big topic and it can be
Mhm.
controversial, but I think a lot of people are really starting to understand now, with the sophistication of different tests available to measure toxins in the body, and with the sophistication of products like Pectosol that are continue to be shown in clinical data to help remove those toxins from the body. I think more and more people are understanding that yes, toxins are an issue. They do store in the body despite our body's best efforts to remove them, and they can be safely addressed with the right protocols.
And I think so many people out there hear inflammation and they automatically go to really significant conditions like fibromyalgia,
Mhm.
inflammatory bowel disease. And I think a lot of people assume I don't have those things, so I'm really not inflamed. Not realizing there are over 130 conditions that are associated with inflammation. It can be low grade inflammation, it can be high grade overt inflammation in one of those conditions where it is more painful, discomforting, disconcerting. But I really don't think we have yet reached that point where people are appreciating how much inflammation can tax your energy when there's just this chronic low grade, how much it can distract you, how much brain fog it can cause, the symptoms that are associated with inflammation. And your detox, your natural detox organs are doing their absolute best, but that's not all they're doing. We know our liver, our kidneys, our skin, our gut, they're in charge of lots of other jobs as well. So then when we're overwhelming them with this large toxin burden, you are just having this low grade, moderate grade, or high grade inflammation, and you're kind of just white knuckling through it a lot of the times, or just caffeinating yourself without realizing it doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly. Yeah. It can be really insidious, and people, like you said, just don't even realize it. And we chalk it up to normal aging. We're just
Mhm.
getting older. And yes, wrinkles and some brain fog and fatigue, and, maybe a little immune, you know, imbalance. We don't, a lot of people just don't think about, wow, there's something smoldering beneath the surface that I can absolutely address with the right protocols, with, supplements, dietary adjustments, and they don't have to be huge either. Oftentimes, I think people have these low level food sensitivities that they're
Mhm.
not aware of. And we're just, maybe they tested, but it's not quite showing up as a full blown allergy. And so they're not aware, but things like just regular foods that many of us enjoy on a daily basis. I'm not even talking about gluten, sugar, and dairy, but, just certain vegetables, certain foods that for some people they're more sensitive to and causing this low grade inflammation. So I think there's a lot to explore there, and a lot of opportunity to really educate folks that, hey, you don't have to deal with these nagging symptoms that are eventually going to get worse if we don't address them.
Yeah, and I want to like
Absolutely.
the context there is so important because in what you're talking about, I think that the missing link for so many people or for all these things going on because really all of these things, dioxins and heavy metals and just, I mean the list can go on and on. It's this burden, it's this exposure. It's I just had a patient the other day who's I mean in total been on like 12 different bouts of antibiotics and then had a tipping point of just their gut in disarray. And I think that's the key where, yes, we can eat citrus and we're eating pectins and we're eating fiber, and fiber is a binder, and our gut microbiome is there to be this buffer to help us detox. But there is a tipping point where those people who go past, who are on those 12 rounds or more of antibiotics, who live next to a farm where they're spraying pesticides, and you have these tipping points. And like you said, genetic mutations. We're also talking about what was happening to my mom and my grandma and my great grandma. And I inherited that microbiome. And we discuss a lot about gut debt or like this gut inheritance where it's been depleted, or some are being born into a gut trust fund where their gut is really healthy and their mom was really healthy, and it's different. And so I think it's so easy for many to dismiss and go, well, I have this gut inheritance and doesn't everybody? And I don't need a modified citrus pectin. This is all woo woo and hearsay, and not realizing, oh my gosh, there's so much amazing data and research on this because there's so many people that have been born into gut debt. I think we're here
Mhm.
because Dahlia was one of them,
Mhm.
and I wasn't. I was kind of in that gut inheritance where I could eat anything and my gut was always feeling fine. And I started eating more plants and I was feeling fine. So everything you're saying makes so much sense, and it just kind of paints this beautiful picture that we're
Yeah.
seeing. There are lots of gut powders and gut supplements out there, but hopefully this quick analogy will help you choose the right one. When it comes to gut supplements and gut powders, think of your gut as a garden, and in this garden you can plant seed, you can transplant plants, or you can also facilitate healthy soil so things will naturally grow. What we opt for and what we recommend on a daily basis when it comes to taking a gut supplement is to opt for the supplement that will help the soil be healthy. This is essentially a compost for the gut. This helps ensure your gut soil is healthy, your microbiome is thriving with your own personalized fingerprint in your gut microbiome. If you're taking probiotics and not sure what they do, it's like transplanting plants that belong in tropical South America to Alaska. Sure, you can do it, you can spend money on it and time on it, but it won't last long. Instead, ensure that your soil in your gut, which is the gut structure and gut function that you uniquely have, is ready to facilitate healthy seeds, healthy probiotics coming from your environment, from your food, and so on. That is why we formulated Gut Nurture.
And, we love that it enables people to have this customized approach with their care team and really understand their level of need with their level of toxic burden. It's almost like saying everyone can benefit from just exercising to manage their stress and, just talking it out with a friend. Well, no, some people have been through trauma. Some people have PTSD. Not everybody has that same stress load or trauma load in their life. So not everybody's going to benefit from those low level modalities or just that. Yes, it's great to exercise. It's great to talk it out. It's great to, practice those daily stress alleviating techniques, but sometimes you need a little bit more. Sometimes you need that extra therapy. Sometimes you need that EMDR or whatever it is added on top of it. And this is the analogy that we'll give to our patients of sometimes it is just a little bit more that you need because of what you've been exposed to, what you've gone through, and that's okay. And I think we're in an interesting time right now because peptides are really big. And a lot of people right now are on GLPs and losing weight. And I think one facet that not enough people are talking about with weight loss is that as you're losing that weight, you're also releasing fat soluble toxins into circulation. And so have you been seeing this? Has there been any new data out on this correlation between weight loss, fat soluble toxins? What advice could you give to people who are on weight management support and might be more fatigued or might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed physically? What could they be missing?
Yeah, absolutely. We have always recommended Pectosol and really any sort of comprehensive detox program that somebody can engage in when they're doing any sort of weight loss program. And that's exactly for the reason that you've mentioned. You're breaking fat cells. Fat cells store toxins. You're just literally breaking those open and the toxins are getting into the circulation. And if you don't have good binding support, then those toxins are going to redistribute. And it's very unusual to find binding support that works in the circulation. So Pectosol does shine in that area because when toxins are being released into the circulation, it's there to bind them up. So you're not getting that detox crisis, that detox symptom set that comes from those toxins being relocated. Because what happens is when they've already been stored and then they get back into the circulation, they can be even more toxic. The body stores them as more toxic reactive metabolites that have been sort of processed by the liver, and they're sort of stuck in this conjugation phase to get out of the body. The body can't properly remove them, so it gets them stored. And so when those toxins get released, they're even worse than their original toxin in many cases, and they can get into even more sensitive places like the brain. They're straight into that circulation highway, and they are going where they're going to go. And often it's where the genetic weak links are. And so you've probably heard this said many times. It's often the idea is that it's environment plus genetics that cause somebody's symptoms. And so when we're dealing with a difficult situation in both cases, people are going to really be struggling with this toxic burden. And I think we're seeing that a lot with the widespread use now of these GLP-1 or these GLP inhibitors and just weight loss in general. And I think a lot of people don't realize that what they're feeling during that process is actually toxin overload and redistribution. It doesn't even have to get back to the gut to redistribute. That's the whole danger of it, but it can also redistribute through the gut. And then, you're looking at just a more toxic situation than even previously because you don't have as much of that fat cell to buffer. Fat cells are good in that way because the body's protecting us from these toxins. Not to say that, we all want to gain weight and be overweight, but to a degree, there is that protection from toxic burden. And that can often, we know that toxic exposure can cause or be a trigger for obesity essentially. And so the body being very smart and as survival based as it can to say, what am I going to do here with these really toxic compounds? We can't get them out. We've got to store them somewhere. So it's something that I think is definitely overlooked in many cases, especially now as we're seeing this just influx of weight loss drugs hitting the market. And I think it's a big opportunity, again, to really remind folks that low and slow is really the way to go when you're doing any sort of health program, detox, weight loss. You don't want to be doing it rapidly and having that rapid release of toxins into the circulation where you're breaking, a lot of fat cells and you're doing like a week fast and you've lost, 15 pounds in 7 days or something like that. That can be really hard on the body and really problematic, especially for anybody that has that genetic sensitivity. So thank you for bringing that up because I think it's an area that, again, gets overlooked and commonly dismissed as, I'm just not eating. My diet's changed. That's why I'm not feeling as good. I'm not getting as many calories as I'm used to. That's why I'm not feeling as great. I'm having headaches and I'm tired because it's the diet when really it's most cases, these toxins that are being dumped into the circulation in mass, and people just don't think about it, you know?
It's a great reminder of like, hey, at the end of the day, your body loves you. Like we always try to remind our patients because it can get doom and gloom very quickly, and it's easy to
Mhm.
focus on the negative. Like, not only am I gaining weight or I'm holding on to weight, then when I try to lose it, I feel terrible, or I'm having all these detox and die-off reaction. I mean, the list can go on and on. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, symptoms are there because your body loves you. Your body's trying to tell you something. Your body's trying to help you. It's always trying to help you, whether that is stubborn body weight you can't get rid of or symptoms from even losing that stubborn body fat. And so that's always a nice nice reminder we always try to inject into these
Yes.
conversations. But
Can
yeah.
you tell us, Ruby, what are some of those die-off or Herxmeyer symptoms that one might start to experience when they are going through either a protocol that's intentionally trying to rid of toxins, like we talked about, intentional or unintentional weight loss? What are some of those alternate symptoms that they might be experiencing that they might need some help with something like citrus pectin?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure you guys have heard of the detox crisis, that people go through when they're detoxing, and you have to. The idea is you have to feel better before you, or sorry, you have to feel worse before you can feel better, and you have to just sort of tough it out and burrow through it, or whatnot. And what's going on is, as we said, the body's releasing these toxins from where they're stored. And also, if you're doing any sort of kill protocol with your detox, with antimicrobial herbs or any even pharmaceutical compounds, the die-off from those pathogens produces more toxins. And typically those toxins can be very aggressive and can come with their own set of symptoms, oftentimes based on what's being targeted. So for example, Lyme bacterium can have some really strong Herxheimer die-off reactions for patients. And lots of times what they'll experience is just a huge flare-up of their condition, of their symptomology. And so a lot of times what you hear is just flu symptoms, debilitating headaches, unable to get out of bed, extreme fatigue, joint pain, body pain, all of those things that were present during the initial infection, or continuing as if it's chronic, will worsen as those oftentimes worsen as those microbes are being targeted and they're getting attacked. So they're more aggressive, and then that toxin that is being released when they are during the die-off, the LPS toxins, can just be really hard and really inflammatory for the body, really driving kind of that upper funnel inflammatory reaction, the upper cascade. And so even with releasing fat cells, toxins with breaking fat cells, people will often, or just in the organs or wherever they're stored in the tissues, people will often feel fatigued, very fatigued, headaches, gut symptoms, nausea perhaps. And it's just this abundance of toxins suddenly in the circulation that the body is just not able to handle. It's kind of like you have the flu. Oftentimes you may get some respiratory symptoms. It may trigger things that have been dormant, like infections somewhere in the body, things like that the body was able to manage previously, but then through releasing toxins and also releasing some of their microenvironments, breaking up some of their microenvironments, like the biofilm structures where these other microbes are stored, and perhaps latent viruses in the body. All sorts of things can start to come up to the surface essentially and cause these symptoms. And so by the idea is that by using gentle natural binders like Pectisol that also target that overactive inflammatory and immune response to the toxins and help to smooth and balance that out, you're giving the body really comprehensive broad spectrum support throughout that detox process.
I love it. And we're here because I mean we use Pectisol. You guys are listening and watching and seeing us talk about Pectisol. We use this in our practice. Like this is something we actually use with our patients. But walk us through, I mean, what does that look like in your experience? Like when you're using Pectisol, are you combining with anything else? When is a patient or someone starting this? How does that look like in their day-to-day?
Absolutely. So Pectosol is actually like a foundational daily product that we recommend for everyone across the board. Anybody, over the age of 18 that is interested in preserving their long-term health. So because of its multitude of benefits, it's really highly recommended for everyone across the board. But for detox, it's very helpful to use it in combination with gut binding support. So I have one of my favorite ones here that we often combine with Pectosol. This is called Glypho Detox. It's a wonderful formula that has a blend of superior natural binders that remain in the gut, because you also need that binding support in the gut. While Pectosol works mostly in the circulation in the bloodstream, you want to have that binding support in the gut as well, because toxins are being released into the gut and you want to prevent them from being reabsorbed through the gut wall. And the beauty about the Glypho Detox formula is that the binders also support mucosal integrity and healthy gut barrier. So it's helping to rebuild that gut wall that's often damaged from toxins, from microbes, from overactive inflammation. And the binders used in that formula are very gentle, so we don't use charcoal or bentonite clay or harsh binders that really aren't recommended for long-term use. The formula contains regular citrus pectin, so not the Pectosol, but the large molecule citrus pectin that's unmodified, that stays in the gut. The formula also contains alginates, some kelp, a bit of glycine to help prevent glyphosate uptake into the body, and it also has some fulvic acid. So I love the formula, and I take it every morning with my Pectosol, and it's definitely the foundation of our detox protocol. Our detox rescue kit is the foundational kit is the Pectosol with the Glypho Detox, and they can absolutely be taken together at the same time. The dose for Pectosol seen in the heavy metal chelation studies is 15 grams a day. So if you're taking the powders, that's 3 scoops. If you're taking the capsules, that's 18 capsules. People typically split that up into 2 doses, so morning and evening, so like a scoop and a half in the morning and then in the evening. And you want to drink it with enough fluids, enough water. You can mix it in hot beverages. It's very heat stable. You can take it at the same time as other supplements as well, other herbs, mushrooms, other binders, other detox supplements. It's important to take it away from food though, because you want it to absorb into the circulation. So either 30 minutes before a meal or about an hour and a half after a meal. Okay. And if you're taking it in the evening, you might just want to watch your fluid intake then, so you're not like waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. But yeah, it's a wonderful one just for everybody, for daily support against toxins and environmental toxins. And then of course, as a support for that healthy aging process, that keeping those inflammation levels in balance. And what a lot of practitioners say about Pectosol as well is that it's the great program enhancer, because what's really interesting about it is that it synergizes with everything else that it's used with. And we've shown this in about 8 published studies, as well as across the board clinically for over 30 years now. It's essentially enhancing the activity of anything else you're using it with. And the idea is that by breaking up galectin-3 in the body, galectin-3 forms these lattice formations in these microenvironments and these biofilm structures throughout the body. Pectosol helps to break that up so it can allow these other compounds to reach their target tissues. And it's synergistic with conventional protocols, for conventional oncology protocols. It's synergistic with, they've shown with antibiotics. They've shown with a number of different conventional approaches, as well as natural herbal formulas, enhancing that activity as well. So highly synergistic. And a lot of practitioners, like I said, use it with all of their patients and all of their clients because it's enhancing everything else they combine it with, whether it's a detox protocol or something else. So it's a fascinating one for that as well, to just, if you're not getting the results that you've been seeking with another protocol, adding in Pectosol in most cases will give you those results. We just hear it time and again.
And I know you mentioned taking it away from food, but it being okay with being taken with other supplements.
Mm-hmm.
What about medications? Whether it is an antibiotic as part of the protocol, it's a daily medication somebody's taking, is this something to be taken apart, or is it fine to be taken together?
Great question. We always recommend taking medication as far apart from any supplements during the day as possible. And of course, consulting with your healthcare practitioner if you're under the treatment for any condition before taking any new supplements. And that being said, yes, people often use it at the same time. And I should say in the same time period or same time frame as they're doing other protocols, other medications, but definitely you want to take it at a separate time of day just to ensure optimal absorption of both compounds. Pectosol is not contraindicated in any conditions, and nor with any other medications. And in fact, as I said, we continue to see synergistic benefits with basically everything combined within protocols. But yeah, different times of day, very important.
Wow. Very cool. It's, yeah, I mean, this is, again, it can go very deep. I mean, there's so much to this topic, and we see patients struggling with this of all across the spectrum. So it's nice to have the support. I mean, this is definitely a tool in our toolbox here at Married to Health and in our practice, and we love using it. It is, and what would you say is, so you mentioned daily, you mentioned, people doing this daily, but what are some, I guess, chronic diseases you're seeing, whether that's with your specific patients you're working with or conditions that are say the most common?
I would say Pectosol is used frequently by practitioners in areas of oncology nutritional support. It's got a lot of research there. It's often used in neurological support protocols by doctors that focus on brain health. There's a lot of good research in brain health in Pectosol as well, including supporting cognitive processing and supporting memory and executive function. These are animal studies. It's often used, again, in any sort of detox protocol, but especially anything going into areas of overgrowth or anything where you're going to have some serious die-off. It's frequently used, I would say, in immune balancing protocols. And so for anybody with an overactive immune issue that they're struggling with, galectin-3, the target that Pectosol works on, is highly implicated in across the board in autoimmunity, in so many different areas of autoimmunity. And Pectosol really excels in helping to balance immune activity, balance that healthy inflammation activity, and really get it back to that healthy baseline. So very important there. So yeah, I would say absolutely in any immune imbalance, any area of brain health, any area of neurological support, overall detoxification. And we hear time and again from folks that just, I feel so much better after taking Pectosol. And it's often we don't hear exactly what they've been dealing with, but they'll say things like, I've spent $100,000 trying to get help and nothing worked until Pectosol. I'll never be a day without Pectosol. It's helped me get my life back. People report incredible benefits for joint health, joint comfort and mobility, for energy. That was one that we didn't expect, but as we grow, we continue to see these amazing reports of, I just have so much more energy with Pectosol. So it's one of those ones that is like a kitchen sink ingredient that kind of does it all. And how can it do it all? Well, it's working upstream. It's working on some of these key drivers of imbalances that we're dealing with today, especially if you're talking about anything environmentally related.
Okay, this program is not for you if you're looking for a quick fix and you're not willing to put in the work. We have spent years and years creating a program that actually helps you get to the root of gut dysbiosis like SIBO and IBS, but it is not for you if you're looking to get better in just 1 week and something very, very quick. We have made it simple, affordable, and go at your own pace, but you still will be the one putting in the work to get better and truly overcome your SIBO and IBS. Take advantage of the current sale price for the Good Gut SIBO IBS program because it will be ending soon.
And it's interesting that you mentioned oncology as one of the indications, because so frequently we hear, take oncology patients off of all their supplements. You don't want to feed their cancer. Don't recommend any supplements to them. So it's interesting that this is one that is not only safe to not feed the cancer, as many people want to avoid with other supplements like a multivitamin or L-glutamine or any others like that, but it can also help tamp down that inflammation, because I think a lot of people don't realize that jump of this inflammation that then causes cell mutation that can then result in cancers. And so it's so interesting to hear more about that, of how citrus pectin and other binders can be helpful in that inflammatory process. I'd love to hear more about that, because like I said, most that you hear of oncology and nutraceuticals is don't do it. They don't mix. Absolutely. They don't mesh well.
Yeah, and I will say, this area is really under the purview of these integrative cancer physicians that have spent their livelihood and their research on understanding how to combine and really create these individualized protocols for patients that combine nutritional approaches, integrative approaches with conventional approaches to improve clinical outcomes and reduce toxic side effects. And so there are a number of integrative oncologists and specialists in this area that have a very sophisticated understanding of how to combine natural compounds with conventional approaches to really support their patients in an individualized way. Now, Pectosol has had its legacy in this area and has a lot of clinical data for a supplement in this area. We have a published clinical study in prostate oncology nutritional support from 2023, and that was a large-scale clinical study done out of Israel that showed significant benefits in slowing rise of PSA, stabilizing PSA doubling time, and supporting men who didn't have a lot of other options available left. So really important published data there and extensive over 30 years of clinical use there. And so what's fascinating is that galectin-3, again, that protein that's really at the headwaters of the inflammation cascade, is really driving this oncogenic process in the body. And they call, a lot of scientists and researchers call galectin-3 the guardian of the tumor microenvironment. And it works in many different ways to support angiogenesis, support the migration of these abnormal cells and protect these environments and allow them to sort of fester in the body and grow. And so Pectosol excels in disrupting that galectin-3 activity. And that's why it's sort of indicated across the board for so many different areas of health, not just this one, but anything else. Because if you're wondering if something that you're a health area of health that you're looking to support or solve, an issue that you're looking to solve, if you're wondering if it's related to galectin-3, you're likely to find a published study in the scientific literature showing elevated galectin-3 driving that area. So it's one of those proteins that is finally now starting to get the recognition in Western and functional and integrative medicine in terms of a biomarker to pay attention to and a target to really look at with your patients. So you can get a blood test pretty easily through LabCorp Quest, measuring the levels. And it's just a really important one, not just for oncology support, but definitely a marker there to pay attention to.
So interesting, because you don't traditionally hear about galectin-3. Other inflammatory markers will be measured, like homocysteine or C-reactive protein or sedimentation rate. But it's so interesting for people to learn. You can ask your care team to measure your galectin-3 and assess your inflammatory load, and hopefully then prevent and really mitigate inflammatory cascades that have already progressed and already started. So such an interesting facet of the whole inflammatory piece, because I feel like people are so comfortable with the word inflammation. They really don't think too much more about it, don't realize how much more you can learn about it and how much you can intervene on it. Whether it is, again, that little minor ache and pain you might have every day, or you're dealing with an autoimmune condition, you're dealing with some type of oncology, you're dealing with anything else, you're dealing with all these different itises which are related to inflammation. I think we've normalized it so much, people don't understand how much power they have. And then not only that, the tools and resources that are out there, easily available, easily accessible for them, and really just simplified ingredients as well. Because whether it is with Pectosol, whether it is with the Glypho Detox, these are very common ingredients that you're all utilizing, but really tapping into that concentrated active form of the citrus pectin or of some of the other ingredients that are, yes, they can be consumed. However, in more of a targeted therapeutic dose, they're going to be a lot more effective. What do you say to people who say, well, why wouldn't I just eat oranges every day? Or instead of taking the Glypho Detox, why wouldn't I just have aloe and have some of those ingredients that you mentioned? What is the benefit of having them in this therapeutic targeted dose?
Absolutely. So the question about the orange peels or oranges is an excellent question. We do get that one a lot. And Pectosol is just very different than what you would get from eating an orange or even trying to eat some of the pith outside of, from the orange peel. So the pectin itself is made from that white pith that's on the inside of the citrus peels. And it's made, Pectosol pectin is made typically with oranges, lemons, and limes, not grapefruits, because grapefruits can cause some medication interference, as well as Seville oranges, so those are not included either. But it's important to note that there aren't any citrus compounds in the Pectosol left over. It's highly purified. There's no vitamin C, there's no citrus compound. So anybody that's dealing with citrus sensitivities or allergies, obviously discuss with your provider first, but Pectosol is considered very safe even for those with citrus allergies because it doesn't, again, contain any of those citrus compounds. So you're not going to get those benefits from eating an orange that you would be getting with taking Pectosol. The beauty of Pectosol is that it's modified to this tiny molecular size and structure, and that's what gets it into the circulation and allows it to bind to the galectin-3 molecule like a key fitting into the lock. And it's really effective in that way. And it's also really effective in binding to heavy metals and environmental toxins as a binder. They call it, it forms something called the egg box stack or the egg box formation, where these molecules form these formations in the bloodstream, and they attract the charge attracts the heavy metals and traps them in there, and they can be safely excreted out of the body. So you're not going to get those benefits from just eating an orange. Of course, eating an orange is going to give you plenty of other benefits. So we're not detracting from the delicious citrus benefits that we can get, and vitamin C and all those healthy bioflavonoids, and that's a really important additional component of taking Pectosols. You want to incorporate those healthy foods and that healthy lifestyle to get the best benefits that you can with this product and with these types of protocols. But yeah, so you're not really, it's like apples to oranges. It's very different than what you would get from an actual citrus fruit. And then with the Glypho Detox formula, folks are welcome to, obviously always look up the ingredients and find those as single ingredients on their own and take those. And we don't discourage anybody from doing their own research and designing, their own formulas that work for them. And some people do decide that they need something with just, I just need a fulvic acid, or I just need a kelp product. And that's, if that works for them, that's great. We love the Glypho Detox formula because it's one of those ones, and formulation science can get really sophisticated with herbs, but there's a synergistic blend idea that when you have the blend is more than the sum of its parts. And that's really the beauty of our formulas, is that they are highly synergistic. They're formulated by MD provider with an expert background in herbal formulation science. So each ingredient is carefully selected for dose, for quality, and for its efficacy as a specific component within that formula. So they're very intentional formulas, and they are synergistic and can absolutely give you benefits beyond taking the single herbs alone.
I love it. And we always like to say, this is medical nutrition therapy, and there's layers to medical nutrition therapy. The food foundation is definitely our mantra and one of our core pillars of food and whole foods, and there's benefit to that. But then there's benefit to processing. There's benefit to even refining and further enhancing or modifying, in this case, like a modified citrus pectin. And that is also part of this medical nutrition therapy. So there's power in all these things in the right way, using them with the right protocols, which is super powerful. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, I mean, this has been, go ahead.
No, I was just, I wanted to let people know, because we know with some nutraceuticals, you need provider oversight. Can people purchase the Pectosol or the Glypho Detox on their own? Do they require provider oversight?
That's a great question. We always recommend working with a trained provider during any supplement or health protocol. But that being said, our products are available direct to consumer, and they are also available through practitioners. So you can buy them straight from, if you're not a practitioner, you can buy them straight from the Econogenics website. They're also available on Amazon. If you're a practitioner, you can buy them through our Econogenics professional site, or we're available on Fullscript as well as Emerson. So those are the health practitioner distributor platforms that we are available on. But yeah, it's not required by any means. And we know a lot of folks do their own research and are their own doctor in many ways, and have found health through those means and really continue to optimize health in that way, and really like to read about the science. And we encourage everyone to do as much research and self-education as they can. And also just emphasizing the importance of working with a trained integrative provider such as yourselves that can really guide patients on that individualized journey.
That is beautiful. And we'll have all the links down below. Again, whether you're listening, watching later on the Good Gut Life podcast, the links will be down below so you can learn more and find out more.
And we'll have a discount link for everyone.
And we'll have a little special something for you. But we love this. We use this at Married to Health. We use this as part of our medical nutrition therapy protocols. So many layers to it.
I bought this for myself.
We love to be, yes, Dahlia uses it regularly. We love to be a resource for, those searching. But then when you need really some hand holding, when you need some help, that's where it is, finding an integrative provider who's aware of all these beautiful tools. And that's what we like to bring to the mainstream and bring to light. Ruby, you're a wealth of knowledge.
Yes,
that was amazing. You're just like rapid firing that knowledge. So people will have to like rewind, pause, take notes. This was a jam-packed episode, but we thank you so much for being here and your time to just share all of your knowledge. That was very special. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, we will see you on the next Good Gut Live podcast. As always, we say, fill with each meal.
With each meal.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you so much for having me.